The Werewolf by Eugene Field, 1896. In the reign of Victoria there dwelt in Britain a maiden named Euclid, who was beloved of all, both for her goodness and for her beauty. But though many a youth came wooing her, she loved Harold only, and to him she pledged her hand. Among the other youth of whom Euclid was enamored by was Alfred, and he was displeased that Euclid showed favor to Harold. So one day Alfred said to Harold, "Is it right that old Sigfield should come from his grave and have Euclid to wife?" He then added, "I pray thee, good sir, why do you turn so pale when I speak of your grandfather's name?" Then Harold asked, "What do you know of Sigfield that you taunt me so? What memory of him should haunt me now? We all know there are some tales told to us by our grandmothers that we have not forgotten." So after that, Alfred's words and bitter smile haunted Harold day and night. Harold's grandfather, Siegfried, had been a man of cruel violence. The legend said that a curse rested upon him, and that at certain times he was possessed of an evil spirit that wreaked its fury on mankind. But Siegfried had been deceased for many years, and there was nothing to frighten the world of him except the legend and a cunning-wrought sword from which he had procured from the witch Broomhilda. The sword was such a weapon that he never lost its brightness, nor had its point ever been blunted. It hung in Harold's chamber, and it was a marvel among weapons of that ancient time. Euclid knew that Alfred loved her, but she did not know of the bitter words which Alfred had spoken to Harold. Her love for Harold was perfect in its trust and gentleness, but Alfred had hit the truth. The curse of old Siegfried was upon Harold, slumbering a century. It had awakened in the blood of the grandson, and Harold knew the curse was upon him, and it was this that seemed to stand between him and Euclid. But love is stronger than all else, and Harold loved. Now it befell in the country estates ravaged by a werewolf, a creature that was feared by all men, however brave or valorous. This werewolf was by day a man, but by night a wolf, given to ravage and to slaughter, and having a charmed life against which no human agency avail all. Wherever he went, he attacked and devoured mankind, spreading terror and desolation round about it. The fortune-tellers said that the Queen's country would not be freed from the werewolf until some man offered himself as a voluntary sacrifice to the monster's rage. Now, although Harold was known far and wide as a mighty huntsman, he had never set forth to hunt the werewolf, and stranger still, the werewolf never ravaged the domain while Harold was therein. Whereat Alfred was amazed, and oftentimes said, "Our Harold is a wondrous huntsman, who, like unto him, is stalking the timid doe and crippling the fleeing boar. But how interesting that he at times is absent from the haunts of the werewolf, such valor worthy of our young Siegfried." Which upon hearing this, Harold's heart flamed with anger, but he said nothing, lest he betray the truth he feared. It happened so about that time that Euclid said to Harold, "Wilt thou go with me tomorrow evening to the feast in the sacred grove?" "That I cannot do, I'm afraid," answered Harold. "I am privily summoned hence to Normandy upon a mission of which I shall in some time tell you, and I pray on thy love for me, do not go to the feast in the sacred grove without me." "Whatever do you mean?" cried Euclid. "Shall I not go to the feast of St. Elfrida? My father would be sorely displeased were I not there." "But do not, I beg of thee," Harold implored. "Do not go to the feast of St. Elfrida in the sacred grove. And if you love me, please do not. I beg upon my two knees." "How pale you," said Euclid, "and trembling." "Please," he begged. Euclid marveled in his acts and at his speech. Then for the first time she thought him to be jealous, and though she secretly enjoyed. "Ah," she stated, "do you doubt my love?" But when she saw the look of pain come upon his face, she added, "Or do you fear the werewolf?" Then Harold answered, fixing his eyes upon hers, "You have said it. It is the werewolf that I fear." "Why do you look at me so strangely, Harold?" cried Euclid. "By the cruel light in your eyes, one might almost take it as though you are the werewolf." "Come, here, sit beside me," said Harold tremblingly, "and I will tell you why I fear to have you go to the feast of St. Elfrida tomorrow in the evening. Hear what I had dreamed last night. I dreamed that I was the werewolf. Do not shudder, dear love, for it was only a dream." Scarce was this dream told when Alfred appeared on her doorstep. "My dear lady," quoth he, "I believe I have never seen a sorrier woman." Then Euclid told him of Harold's going away, and how that Harold had besought her not to venture to the feast of St. Elfrida in the sacred grove. "These are childish fears," cried Alfred boastfully, "and do not trouble yourself, my sweet lady. I will accompany you to the feast. There will be no werewolf, I promise you." Whereat Euclid laughed merrily, and Harold said, It's as well that you go to the sacred grove, and may my love and heaven's grace protect you from all evil." Then Harold went to his home, fetched old Siegfried's sword, and brought it to Uselip, and laid it into her 2 hands, saying, "Take this sword with you to the feast tomorrow night. It is Siegfried's old spear. It possesses a mighty virtue and a deadly blow." Harold took Uselip to his heart and blessed her. He then kissed her upon the brow and upon her lips, saying, "Farewell, O my beloved, how will you love me when you know my sacrifice? Farewell, farewell forever, my love." So Harold went his way, and Uselip was lost in wonderment. On the morrow night came Uselip to the sacred grove wherein the feast was spread, and she bore old Siegfried's spear with her in her girdle. Alfred attended her, and a score of lusty yeomen were with him. In the grove there was great merriment, and with singing and dancing and games withal did the honest folk celebrate the feast of the fair Saint Alfreda. But suddenly a mighty turmoil arose, and there was cries of "The werewolf! The werewolf!" Terror seized upon them all. Stout hearts were frozen with fear. Out from the further forest rushed the werewolf, bellowing hoarsely, gnashing his fangs and tossing hither and thither the yellow foam from his snapping jaws. He sought Uselip straight, as if an evil power drew him to the spot where she stood. But Uselip was not afeared. Like a marble statue she stood and saw the werewolf coming. The yeomen, dropping their torches and casting aside their bows, had fled. Alfred alone abided there to do the monstrous battle. At the approaching wolf he hurled his heavy lance, but it struck the werewolf's bristling back. The weapon was all too shivered. Then the werewolf, fixing his eyes upon Uselip, skulked for a moment in the shadow of the yews, and thinking then of Harold's words, Uselip plucked old Siegfried's spear from her girdle, raised it on high, and with the strength of despair sent it hurtling through the air. The werewolf saw the shining weapon, and a cry burst from its gaping throat, a cry of human agony, and Uselip saw in the werewolf's eyes the eyes of someone she had seen and known, but 'twas for an instant only, and the eyes were no longer human, but wolfish in their ferocity. A supernatural force seemed to speed the spear in its flight. With fearful precision the weapon smote home and buried itself by half its length in the werewolf's shaggy breast, just above the heart, and then with a monstrous sigh, as if it yielded up his life without regret, the werewolf fell dead in the shadow of the yews. Then the very truth, there was great joy, and loud were the acclaims, while beautiful in her trembling pallor, Uselip was led to her home, where people set about to give a great feast to do her homage, for the werewolf was dead, and she was the one that had slain him. But Uselip cried out, "Go search for Harold, go bring him to me, nor eat nor sleep till he be found." "Good my lady," quoth Alfred, "how can that be, since he hath betaken himself to Normandy?" "I care not where he be," she cried. "My heart stands until I look into his eyes again." "Surely he hath not gone to Normandy," outspake Hubert. "This very eventide I saw him enter his abode." They hastened hither in a vast company. His chamber door was barred. "Harold, Harold, come forth," they cried, as they beat upon the door, but no answer came to their calls and knockings. Afeared, they battered down the door, and when it fell they saw that Harold lay upon his bed. "He sleeps," said one. "See, he holds a portrait in his hand, and it is her portrait. How fair he is, and how tranquil he sleeps." But no, Harold was not asleep. His face was calm and beautiful, as if he dreamed of his beloved. But his raiment was red with the blood that streamed from a wound in his breast, a gaping, ghastly spear wound just above his heart.